Hey everybody, it's Andy Anderson. Welcome to Prosperity class number 4. Let me pull up the Facebook group here. How's everybody doing? It's exciting to be here at the end of 4 awesome weeks. And just like the last 3 calls, I'm going to be diving into the content today. And afterwards, I'll open it up to questions. So if you guys have here at the end of 4 awesome weeks, and a little like the last 3 calls, interference here. There we go. I had another window open, so then I started hearing myself on the live stream. Don't have windows open while you're live streaming because then you'll be able to hear them. Anyhow, let's start that over again. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, ask me at the end and I will get to those questions. I hope you've all had a great week. And this is a friendly reminder, this is the last week of this 4-week Truth About Prosperity coaching program. So this has been an amazing group of people. You guys have all been awesome. And Ike and I have so loved getting all of your emails, your private messages, your ROI process worksheets, and all the things that you sent to us. It's been really awesome. So thanks so much for your participation and for working through all of these disempowering, limiting thoughts and beliefs you guys have around money. So let's see. Oh, another quick reminder is if you guys have any questions at all, this is the time to ask. So be posting them in the Facebook group these last few days of this 4-week coaching program. Again, if you want to do any one-on-one coaching with me or Ike, direct message us. Now is the time, right? Because we'll be shutting down we won't shut down the Facebook group. The coaching calls will actually continue to be available to you so you can re-watch them, but we won't be in the group like we are right now as far as coaching on a regular basis. And again, if you want to show us your ROI process worksheet, if you've been working through those and you've been applying it to disempowering thoughts around money, let us know. Send it to us via private message or share it in the group, and now's the time to do that. So I just want to do a quick recap of the last few classes so we can kind of see where we started and now recognize where we are after 4 weeks. So the first class, right, we dove into this ROI process tool that we've talked about over and over again. Again, that's called the return on investment tool. And the reason we keep talking about this is, again, you start applying this in your life to these limiting beliefs and thoughts around money and your relationship to money, you're going to start seeing actual physical results in the form of money in your life. This is how you get rid of those blind spots and shed awareness on them. So if you missed class number 1 or 2 or 3 or anything, all of those replays are listed in the Facebook group. And I wanted to let you know, so also today I'm going to kind of review the ROI process tool again based on how powerful it is, and we'll just kind of go over those steps of it again just so you really have it solidified in your mind how this works. And we're going to really finish where we started, so to speak. So we'll finish this last week exactly where we started in week 1 because this tool is so important and so powerful. So I'm going to dive into a few topics within the process just to give you an even greater understanding of how it works, how you can apply it in your life. And so recap of class number 2. In class number 2, we talked all about thoughts and beliefs. We talked all about what's true and what's not true, right? You learned in this class that nothing is really true, which is the really great news because you get to choose what's true for you as it relates to your beliefs and your thoughts about making money, saving money, investing money, whatever it is. So, of course, because nothing is really true, I encourage you to choose financially empowering thoughts and beliefs over those financially disempowering or limiting thoughts that you might have. So you have the power, and it's your responsibility to actually choose those empowering thoughts over the limiting thoughts. We also talked about how you are not your thoughts, right? And this is a huge, really powerful thing to get in your life, that no matter how many thoughts you experience having, you aren't them. Unless you choose to identify with them, unless you choose to grab hold of them and entertain those thoughts, you are not your thoughts. So this is really exciting news. It reminds you once again that it's your choice and you have the power to really create your future. We also talked about how thoughts and beliefs actually turn into the prosperous results that you experience in your life, or the lack thereof, right? So how you think, how you believe actually turns into the results you experience. And so that was all in class 2. Class 3, last week we talked about blind spots, right? We talked about these parts of your mind that you're not aware of, right? There are these things lurking in your mind you don't even know are there. You're not even aware that you're not aware of these things. And we talked about how to become aware of those blind spots by starting to pay attention to what you tell yourself as it relates to your relationship with money. And again, this can be related to any aspect of your life, but your relationship with money is obviously what we're focusing on in The Truth About Prosperity. And that was class number 3. So here we are last week at class number 4. And again, I mentioned a moment ago that we're going to revisit the steps of the ROI process tool so that you really can leave this 4 weeks totally ready to be applying this process tool on your own and applying it into your life. And I'm going to go into detail about some of these steps and how it relates to 2 different topics. One of those topics is intuition, and the other topic is ways of being. So those are the 2 things that I'll dive into in detail as we go through the class. And we'll also talk about the ancient philosophy of be, do, have. And we've touched on this in some of the past classes, but we'll really get into this topic today. All right, checking our Facebook group. Nothing's going on over here. So I'm sure you guys are hearing me if nothing's going on over there, but obviously let me know if anything is going on. All right, so I posted a couple of PDF downloads in the Facebook group before the class. One of them is the Ways of Being download, and it's right on the very first post that is pinned at the top. So go ahead and download that if you haven't already, and that's going to help you, go through some of the concepts I talk about a little bit later in the class. And there's also, I think the post right beneath the first post is the ROI process worksheet, again in the feed there. So download that if you haven't already, or if you want to download it again. I posted it back in class number 2 when we first talked about the ROI process, but we're going to talk about it again in more detail today, so I wanted to make sure you had that for reference. All right, so again, the reason why we're going to review this ROI process is because it's the process by which virtually all change occurs, right? This tool, this process is actually how you go through changes in your life as it relates to your prosperity, as it relates to anything in your life that you make changes about. And this tool, just again a review, it helps you do many things. And here are a few things that it helps you do. Helps you uncover what you're telling yourself that's not true, what you're denying, where you're in denial, where you're out of integrity with yourself. And it helps you admit what's actually true for you. So it helps you actually tell the truth about things, be honest with yourself. It helps you confront the cost you've been paying by not being honest with yourself. And then it also helps you choose new ways of being to live by. And these new ways of being, they rise up in the space you've created by being honest with yourself and feeling what we call the ouch factor, which I'll touch on again in a few minutes here. And this tool also helps you take inspired actions to ignite changes in your life and give you actual physical financial results. So that's why this tool is so powerful. So again, the steps of the ROI process, again, we call this the return on investment process. You're really investing in yourself. You're investing in your willingness to be honest with yourself and wipe away all those old limiting patterns of scarcity and all that. So I'm going to go through these steps again, and if you're following along on the worksheet right now, you can see the steps as I go through it. So again, the R step of the ROI process is I tell myself. And the next step is the truth for me is. And then the next is this really true for me? So it's checking in and making sure what you uncovered, what your truth for me is actually true. And intuition comes into this step, which I'll dive into a little deeper in a moment here. And then the O of the ROI process is the ouch factor. And so you have the ouch factor for me and the ouch factor for others. So you go through these steps and outlining what's that ouch, what's that cost you've been paying for yourself as well as others in your life. And then the I of the ROI process is the inspired way of being and the inspired action. So this is, inspired new ways of being, like being confident or being prosperous or being abundant, those kinds of things. And then you actually write down what your inspired action is that you're going to take and the date and time you're going to take that by to hold yourself accountable. So that's just a brief review of the ROI process tool and the steps. So the thing I really wanted to dive into today about this, because we've had some questions about this, and I think this will really help you understand this tool even better as you go on in your own journey. So there's 3 places within the ROI process where the power of your intuition comes in. So you'll notice in the R section, right, in the third question, is this really true for me? This is under the revelation step. This is where you're really taking a look at, is what you uncovered in the truth for me step, the truth for me is step, is it actually true for you? Feel with it if it's true for you. Does it resonate with you? This is where that power of your intuition comes in. And if you've declared something in the truth for me is step and it doesn't feel like it's actually true for you, or you just doesn't quite resonate with you, start this process over. Start it over so that it actually feels intuitively true for you. And this takes some practice. So, and then the second place that intuition comes into this ROI process tool is in the inspired new way of being. And the more you apply this process to areas of your financial life, your relationship with money, where you're, feeling a loss of power, you have disempowering thoughts around it, you're going to begin to realize, as I mentioned before, this inspired new way of being, it rises up from intuition. Right? So I told you this, I think, around class 1. So don't start applying the process thinking, right, logically with your intellectual mind that you know exactly what that new way of being is going to be. Well, intellectually, in my mind, it makes sense that it would be, I want to be prosperous or I want to be confident. But it doesn't work this way. Intuition really chooses that way of being for you. You kind of have the experience of choosing it yourself, but your intuition is actually choosing it for you, and you're taking that way of being on. So again, your willingness to be honest with yourself, to see what you tell yourself that's not true and tell the truth about it, and then your willingness to actually feel that ouch factor, that's clearing a space for intuition to come in and to guide you to that new way of being. And the third place that intuition comes into this process is the inspired action, right? That's that last step. So intuition actually shows you, guides you into what inspired action you need to take. And that being said, a quick friendly reminder, I've mentioned this before, you're not always going to be guided to take an action. It's not like every single time you do this tool, you're going to be, creating a to-do list from it, right? That doesn't always happen that way. It could, but it doesn't always necessarily happen that way. So if you feel inspired by intuition to focus on your new way of being, like being confident, intuition might just guide you to just sit with being confident. Like, feel what being confident feels like. What does being confident mean to you? Kind of explore that way of being. So just be sure to check in with yourself as you do this process and feel what resonates. So a lot of people wonder, well, how do I do this, right? Like, what exactly is intuition, right? I'm telling you, you need to start feeling this intuition rise up in you and guide you in this process. But what actually is this that we're talking about? Now, a lot of you probably, know maybe what the definition is, but let's get a little bit deeper into intuition. So dictionary definition of intuition is, it's the direct perception of truth, fact, independent of any reasoning process, or an immediate apprehension, right? Something that you just immediately apprehend. So some other ways of looking at intuition, other words we could toss around for describing what intuition is having a gut feel, right? Trusting your gut, trusting your instincts, or inspiration, or having a hunch. Those are all different words used to describe the same thing, intuition. We all describe it in a little bit of a different way. And something really exciting to get is that intuition is in every single one of us. All human beings have this tool, this power called intuition. And many people talk about, right, the need to develop their intuition, or I need to do all these things in order to develop it because I don't have it yet. But the reality is, the truth is, intuition is already in all of us all the time. It's right here in all of us, no matter what, all the time. So instead of focusing on developing this thing, intuition that you already have, you can just start practicing listening to it, right? And applying the ROI process tool will give you an opportunity to practice listening to your intuition, because it's already all there. Now, the thing is that most people don't live their life from a place of intuition, right? They live their life from a place of the intellect and, just the reasoning, logical mind. And so, and a lot of people don't apply, let's say, intuition to their financial lives, right? Or their relationship with money. Like, no, this is just an area for my mind to kick in, but not my intuition. But that's not true. So, and another thing that happens a lot is people get, right, disempowering thoughts, limiting thoughts can be just so rambunctious in our minds and just like, seeming to come at us from all different directions that a lot of times people get overwhelmed with all these thoughts, all this stimuli coming in, and they're not hearing that intuition is actually speaking to them. So it just takes practice. So when you actually commit yourself to hearing your intuition, an entirely new world of possibility, of prosperity, of purpose, all of these different things open up for you. And it's important to get that one person doesn't have more intuition as it relates to their finances or the money that they have than another person. It's impossible. One person might listen to their intuition as it relates to their finances and the money in the bank and make their financial decisions in their life based on that intuition, right? But that doesn't mean that they're more intuitive. It just means that they're listening to their intuition. They're practicing it. They're living by it. So intuition doesn't single anyone out. So if you've had the experience of, you don't feel like you're an intuitive or you don't feel like you're an intuitive person, well, it's just not true. That's another thing you're telling yourself, right? I tell myself I'm not intuitive, but the truth for me is I am intuitive. I just don't listen to it very often, right? There's the ROI process right there. So just wanted to give you a quick reminder to let you know that it is available to you no matter, what you've told yourself in the past. And maybe you are a person that lives into being an intuitive person. You're already practicing this, and if that's you, this is great, because this process tool is going to become easier and easier for you because of that. So as you can see from the definition that I gave you, right, the dictionary definition I gave you of intuition, it's independent of reasoning, right? It has nothing to do with what's here. It has nothing to do with intellect, our reasoning minds, our logical minds at all. So given that, it doesn't always make sense to us, right? It might not always make sense to our intellects, but intuition is always steering us in the direction of our highest good, in the direction of our most prosperous good, whether we think, right, whether we perceive that as to be our own best interest or not. A while ago, I can't remember if I told you this in class number 1, but I had this really profound intuitive experience going to the dentist's office. I was going to a new dentist, and I walked in this place, and like everything in me, my intuition was just red flags were everywhere telling me I needed to just leave. Like I shouldn't go through with this appointment. It was not where I needed to be. Like red flag, danger, danger, go. And I listened to it. I ended up not, doing the appointment at all and just took off. But, I remember having this experience, and it was so powerful. It really was feeling this intuition from my neck down. It was feeling it through my body here, but not up here. Now I recognized that my intellectual mind started chiming in, saying things like, oh, that's rude if you miss your appointment, or, all of these things. But I chose to follow my intuition, and I don't know why. So I don't have any intellectual reasoning as to why that place wasn't where I needed to be, but it wasn't where I needed to be. So I followed it. So you don't need to know why your intuition guides you a certain direction. It's not necessary that you know every step of the way. So again, you feel this feeling, this intuition is a feeling that's something from the neck down. And when your logical mind starts to question your intuitive guidance, this is all occurring from your neck up, right? It's all occurring up here. And your mind calculates, it reasons, it sorts, it organizes, right? It collates, it does all this stuff, it evaluates, it judges everything, right? But your intuition, all it does is it just knows. And you feel it. So it's not an intellectual conversation, it's a feeling conversation. And I wanted to dive deeper into this topic of intuition so that as you apply this ROI process tool in those 3 parts of the process where intuition does come in, you're going to have a better understanding, a better feeling of what this is actually about. So again, the 3 places that intuition does come in to this equation, to this ROI process, is in the revelation step, where you ask yourself, is this really true? And it comes in when the new inspired way of being rises up in the space that you have created by feeling the ouch in the last step. And it also comes into play in the inspired action. It also rises up in that space to have you act forward in your life and take inspired actions in your life from there. Excuse me. So now let's hop over to that other PDF download that I have in the Facebook group. Again, it's called TAP Ways of Being, Truth About Prosperity Ways of Being. I'm going to check our group real quick here. A quick pause. All right, we're good to go. So if you take a look at this other worksheet called Ways of Being, okay, so this is all getting into the I step of the ROI process, right? The inspired new way of being. And I really want to dive deeper into this to once again help you apply this process in your life. This is a really important piece of the process. So let's talk about this ancient philosophy called Be, Do, Have. And I'm sure most of you have probably heard of this before. It's an old ancient philosophy. I mentioned it in class number 1 also, but it's really important to understand what this philosophy is all about, especially as it relates to this step of the ROI process, the I step of the return on investment process. So here's the thing, right? Most of us as humans are almost completely focused on what we're doing. Right? I'm sure you can relate to this. We're called, our name is a human being, right? We are human beings, but most of us don't operate like that. We operate as human doings, right? We're doing all day long. We're checking things off lists. We're racing around town. We're dropping the kids off. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere, right? We're doing, and doing. And the thing with this is so many of us are so focused on doing that we eventually just end up on autopilot in our lives. Right? We're so focused and distracted from what's going on inside, who we're being, that we're rarely questioning what we're doing anymore and why we're doing it. And this is really important to be aware of this in all areas of your life, including, of course, as it relates to your financial well-being, because maybe you're racing around and checking tasks off your to-do list and you're just doing, but you're not actually witnessing the financial results you need to witness, right, to support your family, to support yourself, to retire comfortably, to live an amazing, financially free, time-free life, right? So this is really important to get this and to understand this. So can you relate to this? Can you relate to that? Oh, I've been doing so many things and I just don't see the results financially that I want to see. And if you do relate to this, as many people do, you're not alone. This is very common. Again, we're called human beings, but most of us are human doings. Most of us get caught up in this trap, this cycle of human doing. So let's just take an example. Let's say you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you're a wannabe entrepreneur, but let's just, take this example. And maybe you've created a routine in your business that you go to this one networking group every Thursday morning. Right? But you never try out anything new. And so here's the thing, by not trying out anything new and you're just sticking to your ways of this one networking group on this Thursday, right, you're actually cutting yourself off from the possibility of expanding your business on a different day when there's this other new networking group, right, on a Monday or something like that. So can you relate to this? Is there anywhere in your life, in your business, in your job or whatever, where you're kind of stuck in your ways, right? This is a common statement of our society, is being stuck in our ways, right? Not thinking about what we do and why we're doing it and not questioning it. And so maybe, right, you're thinking, I've been going back to this example, maybe you're thinking, well, I've been going to this one networking group for, 20 years, and this is just what I do, right? This is what I do. This is a pattern I've had for years, and I'm not going to break it. So this is a really important thought to be aware of. It's something to question. If you have thoughts like, this is what I do, I only do this, I only drink this kind of coffee, I only exercise in this way, I only save this much money a month, whatever it is, question this. And have you checked in with yourself recently to see what kind of results you're creating? If you are just going to that one Thursday afternoon networking group, what results are you creating as a result of being at that networking group, right? And again, this coaching program is all about thinking. It's all about becoming aware of how you think and why you do the things you do. So perhaps in the same example, you could attend some new groups, right? And meet an ever broader audience to share whatever your product is with the world, or, network with affiliate partners or affiliate or internet marketing or whatever it is that you do if you're an entrepreneur. Perhaps you could continue going to the networking group you've been going to for 20 years and try out a couple of new groups, right? Expand your horizons, right? You could be doing both. So it's not about either or. This, again, is what Ike and I like to call the power of and. We've mentioned this a couple times in our classes. It's all about the power of and. It's not about, oh, I have to give up this in order to do this. Well, why not just do both, right? And so here's the thing, right? Perhaps another thing to think about, right? So you have all these different examples of, oh, well, I could keep going to this networking group, or I could expand my horizons, but here's another way to think, right? Perhaps these networking groups aren't creating new relationships for you that are actually worth anything in your business, and they're not helping you expand or grow. So maybe there's something else you could do on your Thursdays, on your Mondays, than do a networking group. Maybe there's something online you should do. Maybe you could, join a mastermind and do an online Skype or Google Hangout mastermind where you're, connecting with people on that level. So the sky is really the limit, but the key here is just to question what you do and why you're doing it. And are you stuck in the same old ways of doing without questioning it? I'm gonna go check our group really quick so someone just posted. Let's see. No, okay. All right. So again, with all of the things that we do in our lives, a lot of us don't stop to think, nor do we stop to be actually present to the thoughts that are driving our actions, right? The thoughts that keep chiming in that create us to go down and wash the dishes, or the thoughts that keep chiming in to get us to eat that second cupcake, or whatever it is, right? So just paying attention to what are you thinking and how are those thoughts driving your actions? Because as human beings, ironically, we're always going to come up with things in the outer world to distract us from what's happening inside, and myself included. This is a practice for me, just like it's a practice for you. It does not happen overnight. It is a constant practice in life. So this is the inside, the inner world is where our thoughts reside, right? And this is where that real sheer power is to transform your financial life. It exists beyond that daily to-do list that you might have in front of you right now. You might be distracted right now by your to-do list. Oh my gosh, I have all these other 10 things to do today. Maybe I can't listen to this right now, right? So the power exists within you, and that's where the transformation occurs. So it's just, once again, like all the other classes, it's being aware of what's happening inside of you. And once you become aware and continue to shine awareness on the power of your inner world, you can take this power out into your outer world. And that's where you can take these life-changing inspired actions and create financial results. So again, this program it's so unique, and the ROI process tool is so unique because we take the inner world and do a lot of work with your inner beliefs and inner thoughts, and we take actions. So putting these two things together with the power of and, you have a really amazing formula to actually create results in your life, because you really can't have one without the other. So again, perhaps you've heard of this be, do, have concept that I'm talking about. It's, and it really does work flawlessly. There's no time that it doesn't work. It is be, do, have. That is the formula. Let's see. So, but again, the way most human beings operate is that we need to have something first, right? We need to have more time, or we need to have more money, or we need to have a higher or better education, right? We need to have all these things until we can do something. We need to have all these things before we can do what's important to us, right? To follow our passion, to quit our job and, let's say, put 100% of your effort into this entrepreneurial venture that you really want to go on, right? We tell ourselves we have to have more time, more money, more education until I can do this thing that I really want to do. And then once we have and do those things, we can finally be prosperous. We can be happy. We can be fulfilled. We can be wealthy, right? And so this is how most human beings operate. It really is backwards. It's have, do, be. And it all seems really logical and rational, right, that it would work this way, but it's actually not working this way. It's not how life works. How life works is be, do, have. And if you start paying attention to your life and other people's lives, you'll see that this is true. Going back to the group here for a moment. All right, we're good to go. So again, you first need to be prosperous or be abundant before you can take an inspired action, right, to do what you need to do to earn more money. And then you're going to have the experiences of more money and more success coming into your life. So being prosperous begins with thinking and choosing to believe in these prosperous, empowering thoughts like, You know, going back to the entrepreneur example, I am a confident and prosperous entrepreneur, or I will become an entrepreneur in the next 3 months, or I will double the amount of money I make this year, or I will get a raise at my job, whatever it is. So again, it works be, do, have is how this all is laid out. So I really wanted to go through this with you because there is this worksheet that I'm going to talk to you about right now, and it's this PDF download that's in the group called Ways of Being. Tap Truth About Prosperity, Ways of Being. And this chart contains a very large array of ways of being, and these ways of being are designed to empower you in your relationship with money and empower you in your life in general. So for example, right, there's be ambitious, right? If you be ambitious, then you can do ambitious. You can do ambitious things, and guess what? You're going to create results in your life because you chose to be ambitious. So then you're going to have whatever result you're looking for. Again, be, do, have. Here's another example. If you be confident, right, you focus on being confident, you're going to do and take actions that you wouldn't if you were being insecure, for example. So you're going to be creating results in your financial life because you actually chose to focus on being confident. You actually focused on this. This is something you actually generated, right, the beingness of confidence, and that led you to take actions that led to results in your life. So this is really important to get. And as you can see, as you start practicing these different ways of being, you're actually opening yourself up to tons of possibilities in your life. And as you continue to restore integrity with yourself and what you really want in your life by applying that ROI process to any limiting stories or beliefs you have around money, you're going to have the choice to actually design and create what you believe about yourself, and therefore who you want to be, right? You're ultimately a blank slate, and you get to choose anything that you want to be. If you've always been insecure, or you've always chosen to be insecure, you truly do have the power to wipe that slate clean and be confident from now on. Now, for most people, it takes practice to do this. It takes practice by, you tell yourself you're insecure, and the truth is, I'm confident, right? I'm confident in my ability to make money, but it is a practice. It generally doesn't happen overnight, but you do have the power to start choosing this way of being called being confident and not being insecure, not choosing insecure any longer. So if you look at this chart, when you're applying the ROI process tool, it's going to be really helpful to you. You get to see what ways of being resonate with you. And so when when intuition is guiding you to choose that new way of being, here's all these amazing choices for you to choose from. So here's just some examples of what's on that worksheet, right? Being bold, being candid, being collaborative, being committed, being connected, being confident again, being courageous. I love this one, right? Being courageous is all about like recognizing that you're afraid, but being in action anyways. This is a great one. Being courageous, being creative, being funny, being fit, being free, being generous, grateful, harmonious, prosperous, abundant, wealthy, all these different ways of being that you can choose from. So I invite you to do another piece of homework before you end this 4-week coaching group. And that is to take a look at this chart and pick 10 ways of being that resonate the most with you. Let your intuition help you with this. Let your intuition guide you to finding these 10 ways of being that resonate the most with you as it relates to your financial well-being and your relationship with money. And write these ways of being down, right? Put them on the refrigerator, put them on the mirror, so when you're getting ready in the morning, you see them. Put them around your house. So again, use your intuition. That's another. So we talked about intuition today and ways of being, and that's how these two come together. Using your intuition to guide you to these ways of being that align with who you really want to be in the world, to be in integrity with what you really want in your life, in your financial life, and all of that. So if there's any ways of being also that you resonate with that aren't on this sheet, because this is certainly not a list of every way of being known to man, write those down. And the homework that I recommend is going beyond that and actually sharing these 10 ways of being in the group. So share it in the Facebook group. Don't be shy. There's another way of being, right? You can choose to be shy, or you can choose to be open, or be collaborative, or be generous, or something like that, right? share these things in the group so other people can see the ways of being that you're choosing to be. So I encourage you to share those in the group. And of course, if you prefer not to, you can always share them with Ike or me on private message. So again, you know, a lot of you have asked me and Ike, right, what now? We've ended this group, or we're almost done with this group, so what happens now? Again, this is the last week of this 4-week coaching program, and before I say what's next, I really just want to thank you. This has been such an honor, and it's been, you know, I get the chills just thinking about it. The people who have contacted us and shared your process with us and shared your, you know, the limiting thoughts and beliefs that you've been struggling with and how you're opening up to working through those. It's the best job in the world, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to help you and serve you and guide you through this. And it's just so amazing. So thank you so much for being with us. And many of you have asked, well, how do we, you know, keep in touch from now forward when this group ends this week? So just keep updated with us on our newsletter. We are sending out content about prosperity, abundance, you know, the wealth, money mindset all the time with our Truth About Prosperity newsletter. And you're probably on it based on the fact that you signed up for the Truth About Prosperity film series. So just keep watching out for new stuff from us. We do these 4-week coaching programs every now and then. So we will let you know when we have another one come up. And a lot of you are already signed up to do private coaching with us. So we'll see you then, and we're super excited to work with you on a one-on-one basis. And if any of you who haven't signed up for something for our private coaching and want to, again, we offer a 50% off for one-on-one coaching, and that's for a private session or a 4-pack bundle. So we do lots of 4-pack bundles, so you can really dive into, you know, working through this stuff for 4 sessions in a row. So I'll post the link to our coaching in the Facebook group so that you can take a look at that if you're interested. And again, follow our Truth About Prosperity newsletter. Every week around Sunday or Monday, I put out a weekly video talking about topics of prosperity. A lot of kind of the topics we've talked about this last 4 weeks, topics of, you know, what are the most common disempowering, limiting beliefs about money, right? And I dive into those things. So those are all totally free videos that I or Ike put out every week. So just keep your eye on that stuff. So does anyone have any questions? I'm going to head over back to the Facebook group. And if I know that you're watching on Google Hangouts right now, but please post your questions in the Facebook group so that I can see them. And if you don't have any questions, that's fine. You can always ask them after you listen, because you might be listening to the recording right now, which is fine too. But I'm going to just pause here for a second and see if anyone's posting in the Facebook group. Let's see. All right, let's see, Linda. One moment, please. Please stand by. My computer is slightly slow here. Okay. Linda has just said, yes, I completely relate to this. Keep waiting for the outside circumstances to change before taking the leap. Yes, oftentimes we do get wrapped up into, right, what's happening outside of us before we, you know, take the leap. And just remembering, Linda, that, you know, it all, while sometimes it might look like something changes outside of us, in order to let us, you know, dive into that and take that leap into our prosperous future, it's still going to happen inside of you first, right? It's the be, the do, and the have. No matter what's happening out here, it's all a reflection of what's happening in here. So if you're being confident and you're being, you know, I'm going to make money in my business, if you're being, I'm going to be wealthy, if you're being, I'm saving for retirement, you'll start to take actions to make that stuff come true, and then you'll have it, and the outer world will then reflect what you've been being. So again, really important to just remember that it's all about, it all starts with you, inside in the inner world first, and then take it out into the outer world. So I don't see any other questions. Linda, thanks so much for commenting there. So I'm going to sign off now. But again, you have a few more days until the group ends officially. And again, the videos for the coaching are just going to remain in the group. So keep, you know, if you want to re-watch them, or if you haven't watched all of them yet, just, you know, you'll always have access to this group in order to watch those. So again, I'm Andy Anderson. It's been a massive pleasure, and I look forward to meeting those of you who are going to do some coaching together. And the rest of you, I can't wait to see you on social media and on the newsletter. And I will talk to you again really soon. Have a great rest of your week, and ask any questions you have the rest of this week in private message or in the group, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.